If you have ever felt that, that crushing wave of frustration sitting down to watch a movie or maybe join a conversation, only to realize the language barrier is making you miss out on half of what's being said, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Oh, it's a completely common feeling. I mean, you study the rules, you pass the test, but then real life hits.
Right.
And native speakers just sound totally different from those perfectly enunciated audio files in the textbook.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We've synthesized the entire journey of one really successful language learner, their personal notes, their strategies, to see how they moved past that agonizing textbook phase to, well, real fluency.
And this learner describes watching a movie and feeling like they were missing half of what was being said.
Wow.
Yeah, forcing them to rewind several times just to understand a single sentence. That constant struggle is the exact problem we're tackling today.
We're going to unpack the exact methods they used, focusing on practical application,
Yeah.
on cognitive shifts, not just, memorizing lists of words. We want to give you a real blueprint based on data. Okay, so let's start at that fundamental moment of change. We have to ask the why. What sparked that serious, sustained commitment? Because for most people, English in school is just an exercise.
Our learner, who grew up in Barcelona, school English felt like a subject I had to pass. It was so analytical, full of grammar rules, the exceptions to those rules, and then, the exceptions to the exceptions.
Which just makes it feel complicated and honestly kind of useless in the real world.
Exactly, completely disconnected. So institutional learning, it just didn't provide that internal drive.
So what did? What was the real turning point?
It was a growing awareness that English was just everywhere. In movies, music, online communities they wanted to be a part of. But the real catalyst, the physical one, was a trip to London. While there, the learner felt completely lost. They couldn't handle even basic communication.
That experience is so critical. It completely transforms your motivation, doesn't it? It stops being an academic thing you have to do.
And it becomes an emotional necessity, something you have to achieve to avoid that feeling of frustration or, even shame. That's the psychological shift that enables real learning.
Okay, so the determination's there. They have the emotional fuel. What was the very first actionable step they took?
The first phase was total immersion, an immediate shift away from the textbooks.
Right.
And the strategy really centered on media they already loved, their favorite movies and TV shows.
And this is where they developed what we've been calling the subtitle trick, which is a really clever phased progression.
It really is. So they started by watching shows with Spanish subtitles.
Their native language.
Right. That provides a kind of psychological safety net. You can still enjoy the story, confirm the meaning. Then they made the big leap to English subtitles.
And that forces your brain to match the sound to the written English word directly.
Exactly.
But hold on, why the intermediate step? Wouldn't it be faster to just jump straight to English subtitles?
You'd think so, but that's where the cognitive insight comes in. Starting with English subtitles can be just too much. You're trying to decode the foreign sound, the foreign script, and the plot all at once.
It's overwhelming. You'd burn out.
You'd burn out. The Spanish subtitles created a bridge, it kept them engaged, and made the final switch to English subtitles feel sustainable, not frustrating.
I see. It optimizes for consistency.
And not just passive listening. They were really focused on English songs, specifically singing along, looking up the lyrics.
And why was that so effective?
What's fascinating is that it was used to practice pronunciation and learn new vocabulary in a really low-stakes way. I mean, when you sing, you're bypassing the analytical part of your brain.
You're just feeling the rhythm.
You're building muscle memory for sound, for rhythm. It turns language acquisition into something much closer to play.
It sounds like a fun start, but, learning a language is a marathon. Where did the data show that things started to hit a wall? Where did they get stuck?
There were three really critical challenges that caused stagnation. The first was just simple overwhelm.
Right.
The learner described feeling hit by the sheer volume of material, nuances, idioms, phrasal verbs, slang. You feel like every time you master one thing, there's another more complex layer waiting.
And this brings up a huge point. Phrasal verbs. Why are there such a persistent sticking point for learners?
Structural complexity is just immense. I mean, you take a simple verb like give and add a tiny particle like up, and it completely changes the meaning to quit.
Which you could never guess.
Never. Confusion over bring up. Does it mean to mention something, or does it mean to raise a child? You have to learn each one as a completely new vocabulary item. It's incredibly taxing.
That unpredictability is terrifying. And that leads right into the second massive challenge. which is that paralyzing fear of actually speaking.
Absolutely. Rehearse a sentence perfectly in their head, but then in the moment, they just couldn't get it out.
The fear of sounding foolish.
It's the primary enemy of progress.
Speaking of sounding foolish, our sources have this great, really memorable anecdote that just proves mistakes are the best teacher.
They do. The learner shared a moment after a big meal trying to say, "I'm full." But instead, they accidentally blurted out, "I'm full."
Oh, no.
Their friends started laughing, and of course the mistake stuck. Mortifying in the moment, but that emotional connection, that embarrassment, it ensures you will never confuse full and fool ever again.
That immediate feedback loop is powerful.
So facing that paralyzing fear, they had to make a leap. They couldn't just stay stuck rehearsing in their head.
And they started by removing the audience, right, taking the pressure off.
Precisely. The first solution was internal practice. Literally, talking to myself in English.
What, just narrating their day?
Yeah, now I'm making breakfast. Or, I need to call the bank. It builds comfort and fluency without the judgment of a listener.
So once that internal comfort was there, they moved to external practice.
They joined an online language exchange community, and the key insight here was a huge confidence booster.
Yeah.
Realizing that native speakers were actually patient and understanding.
They don't expect perfection.
Not at all. And that validated the idea that making mistakes was okay, that it was part of the process.
And then they adopted a specific technique, shadowing. This sounds powerful because it forced me to pay attention to the details.
It's an amazing technique. Shadowing is where you listen to a short clip of a native speaker, maybe from a movie for natural dialogue, and you try to repeat what they're saying almost simultaneously.
So you're not just repeating the words.
No, the focus is on mimicking everything. The intonation, the rhythm, the pronunciation. You're literally training your mouth and your muscles to make the sounds of English naturally.
And for listening skills, they use podcasts, kind of mirroring that subtitle structure.
Yes. They started with podcasts that had transcripts so they could read along. Then they moved to podcasts without them. And this led to a huge mental breakthrough.
Which was?
The realization that it's okay not to understand every single word as long as you can get the gist of the conversation. Moving from demanding perfection to just accepting general comprehension is incredibly liberating.
Okay, this next section, our notes flagged as especially interesting because vocabulary retention is a massive hurdle for almost everyone. What did the learner find that actually made words stick?
They put together a really systematic 4-part system that prioritized context and calculated review.
The first strategy was a vocabulary journal. Seems simple, but the way they used it was key.
Right. Instead of just writing down a word and its definition, they always wrote down the full sentence it was used in.
So it's always in context.
Always. A word is only useful if you know how to actually use it in a sentence.
Strategy 2 is spaced repetition. This is a more technical approach to memory.
It is, but it's crucial. They used a tool, Anki is a popular one. Spaced repetition works by showing you a word right before you're about to forget it.
So it's efficient.
Incredibly efficient. You review easy words less often and hard words more often. It's so much better than just flipping through standard flashcards every day.
But passive retention isn't enough.
No.
They had to force themselves into strategy 3, active application.
Absolutely. This just meant actively trying to use new words in conversation right away. It was tough, they made mistakes, but they found that the more I used a word, the more natural it felt.
You have to turn that passive knowledge into an active skill.
You have to. And finally, strategy 4, which I love, is creating personal associations.
Making it sticky.
Exactly, making it personal. When they learned the word meticulous, for example, they didn't just memorize it. They linked it to a real person in their life, their aunt, who is very particular about everything.
So you attach the abstract word to a real memory.
And it stops being dry data and becomes something you can actually recall and use. So having achieved this high level of fluency, the focus naturally shifts from just comprehension to refinement, to sounding truly natural.
And what resources did they lean on for that advanced continuous improvement stage?
The focus moved to sources with natural, everyday dialogue. They started watching a lot of YouTube channels about everyday English. Casual phrases, slang, things you will definitely not find in textbooks.
Because textbook English can sound so robotic.
It really can. They also subscribed to English newsletters and blogs to make sure their exposure was constant and varied, reading different tones, from journalism to conversational posts.
And at this level, active production becomes even more important than passive consumption.
It does. Their focus is now on refining things like idioms and cultural references. They started writing more in English journaling, emails, social media,
Why is writing so helpful at this stage?
because it forces you to be careful with structure. It reinforces grammar that you might just gloss over when you're speaking quickly.
And finally, taking the language into a social space, which is the ultimate goal.
They join an English book club. This is brilliant because it provides forced speaking practice on complex topics, exposes you to new vocabulary, and it integrates the learning into something fun and social. The language stops being a chore,
It becomes a tool for connection.
a tool for connection and enjoyment.
This journey provides such a powerful blueprint that consistent, practical immersion, paired with that kind of structured review, it just beats grinding through grammar exercises every time.
I think we can distill 4 core principles from this success story for you. 1, be patient. This is a long journey. 2, consistency is everything. A little bit every single day. 3, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace them. They're actually the catalyst for real learning. And 4, make it fun. Use music, movies, social clubs, things you already love.
The ultimate success here was finding a way to enjoy the process so much that quitting just wasn't an option.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the learner's ultimate breakthrough wasn't about memorizing a rule. It was about integrating English into their life as a tool for enjoyment, not just an achievement to unlock.
That's a great way to put it.
What stands out most to me is that transition from needing to understand every single word to embracing the ability to just get the gist. And I think that's the real question for you to take away today. How often do we let the pursuit of this unattainable, immediate perfection stop us from making any progress at all?
A truly provocative thought. We hope these strategies help you dive deep into your own fluency journey. Until next time.